What if the mother of dragons, Daenerys Targaryen, returned from death itself, not for the Iron Throne, but for vengeance? In this alternative ending Game of Thrones story, we explore the darkest what-if scenario. Daenerys survives Jon Snow's betrayal, rises from the ashes of Valyria, and comes back to Westeros with a flight of dragons and a heart burning for justice. This is the story of resurrection, revenge, and the return of the Dragon Queen. Witness how one different choice reshapes the entire fate of the Seven Kingdoms. Fire cannot die. It only waits. And today, it awakens. Now take a deep breath and let's go. In the ruins of a broken throne room, beneath the shattered ceiling of the Red Keep, where ash still falls like snow and the scent of death lingers in the cold air, a queen lies dying, Daenerys Targaryen, the breaker of chains, the unburnt, the mother of dragons. She collapses before the Iron Throne, the seat she crossed oceans to claim, the throne forged from the swords of the conquered, now stained with her blood. Her silver hair spreads across the blackened floor like spilled moonlight. Her violet eyes, once filled with fire and determination, now dim with shock and betrayal. Jon Snow stands above her, the dagger still trembling in his hand. The man she loved, the man she trusted, the man who promised her a future, now the architect of her end. "I loved you," she whispers, her voice barely audible over the crackling of distant flames. "I loved you, and you." Her words fade into silence. Jon weeps, but it changes nothing. Daenerys Stormborn dies in the throne room of King's Landing, alone, betrayed by love, abandoned by destiny. But death is not the end. Drogon descends from the smoke-filled sky like a god of fire and fury. His roar shakes the very foundations of the Red Keep. Stone crumbles, towers collapse. The dragon lands beside his mother's body, and for a moment the world holds its breath. He nudges her with his massive head once, twice, waiting for her to rise, waiting for her eyes to open, waiting for her voice to command him once more. But she does not move. Drogon's cry echoes across the Seven Kingdoms, a sound so terrible, so filled with grief, that men miles away fall to their knees in instinctive terror. It is the sound of a world breaking, the sound of a bond severed, and then rage. Drogon melts the Iron Throne with a torrent of dragonfire so intense the metal runs like water. The symbol of conquest, of power, of ambition, reduced to nothing but molten slag and bitter memory. Jon stumbles backward, shielding his face from the searing heat. He expects death. He deserves it. But Drogon does not kill him. Instead, the dragon gently lifts Daenerys' body in his claws, cradling her as if she were still alive, still his queen. With a final roar that shatters the remaining windows of the throne room, Drogon takes flight. He does not fly west. He does not fly north. He flies east, across the narrow sea, over the ruins of civilizations long forgotten. Through storms that could tear ships apart, and winds that howl with the voices of the dead, Drogon flies to the place where dragons were born. He flies to Valyria, the doom of Valyria. 14 flames that once lit the world now stand as broken monuments to hubris and ambition, the greatest civilization ever to exist, destroyed in a single night of fire and terror. The streets are rivers of solidified lava. The towers are twisted spires of black glass. The air itself shimmers with residual magic, with curses that have endured for centuries. No one comes to Valyria, not anymore. The sailors whisper that the ruins are haunted, that demons walk the streets, that any man who sets foot on those cursed shores will never return. But Drogon is not a man. He is a dragon, and Valyria is his home. He lands in the heart of the freehold, in a plaza where dragon lords once gathered to decide the fate of empires. He lays Daenerys' body upon an altar of black stone, a structure so ancient it predates even the Targaryen dynasty. And then he waits, Days pass, weeks, months. Drogon does not leave. He circles the ruins. He guards her body against scavengers and shadow creatures that creep through the broken streets. He breathes fire into the sky at night, a beacon visible for miles, a signal to anyone who might understand its meaning. And someone does. From the distant corners of Essos they come, red priests and priestesses, followers of R'hllor, the Lord of Light. Servants of the flame who have seen visions in their fires, visions of a queen who was meant for something greater than death. They have walked for months to reach this place, through deserts and across mountains, through cities that would kill them for their faith and lands where their God is forgotten. But the visions compelled them. The flames showed them the truth. Daenerys Targaryen was not meant to die. Not yet. Not like this. They arrive at the ruined plaza under a sky thick with smoke and ash. Drogon watches them with eyes like molten gold. He does not attack. He does not threaten. He knows why they have come. The High Priest, a man with skin like charcoal and eyes that burn within a fire, approaches the altar. He looks upon Daenerys's body. Her pale skin now cold as marble, her silver hair dulled by death. He kneels. The night is dark and full of terrors, he whispers, but the dawn will come again. The other priests and priestesses form a circle around the altar. They begin to chant in the ancient tongue of Valyria, words that have not been spoken aloud in centuries, words of power, words of resurrection. They have done this before. Jon Snow was brought back. Beric Dondarrion returned 6 times. The Lord of Light does not let his chosen die. And Daenerys Targaryen, the woman who walked through fire and emerged unburnt, the woman who birthed dragons from stone, the woman who was prophesied to be Azor Ahai, reborn. She is chosen above all others. They slit their palms and let their blood flow onto the altar. They speak the words of forbidden rituals, magic that was banned even in ancient Valyria. They call upon R'hllor with every breath, with every ounce of faith they possess. And the flames answer. Fire erupts from the altar, not orange or red, but pure white, blinding, all-consuming. Drogon roars and joins his fire with theirs, creating a pillar of flame that reaches into the heavens. The very ground shakes. The ruins of Valyria tremble as if waking from a long sleep, and in the heart of that impossible inferno, Daenerys Targaryen opens her eyes, but they are not the eyes that closed in death. They burn. She rises from the altar like a phoenix born from its own ashes. Her body is no longer the same. Her skin, once soft and golden from the sun of Essos, now bears the marks of something beyond mortality. Faint patterns of ember and ash seem to shimmer beneath her flesh, as if fire itself flows through her veins instead of blood. Her hair, that famous silver white that marked her as a true Targaryen, now carries streaks of something darker, like smoke frozen in time, like the very essence of dragonfire woven into each strand. But it is her eyes that reveal the truth of what she has become. They are no longer merely violet. They burn with an inner light, a reflection of eternal flame. The mark of someone who has crossed the boundary between life and death and returned with knowledge that mortals were never meant to possess. She remembers everything. Every moment of her life plays before her with perfect clarity. The brutal death of her brother Viserys, crown of molten gold poured over his screaming face. The funeral pyre where she walked into flames and emerged with 3 dragons. The liberation of Slaver's Bay, where she broke the chains of thousands. The bells of King's Landing, ringing in surrender, and her choice to burn them anyway. And Jon Snow, the man she loved, the man who called her his queen, the man who kissed her and drove a dagger into her heart. The pain of that memory is sharper than any blade, more searing than any fire. The red priests bow before her, their faces pressed to the cursed ground of Valyria. The High Priest speaks, his voice trembling with religious ecstasy. You have returned, chosen of R'hllor. The Lord of Light has brought you back for a purpose. You are meant to save the world from darkness. You are meant to lead humanity into the dawn. Daenerys looks down at him. Her expression is unreadable. When she speaks, her voice carries an echo, as if two voices speak as one, the living and the dead intertwined. "Save them?" she asks. "I tried to save them. I broke their chains. I fed the hungry. I gave them a future. And they called me mad. They called me tyrant. They murdered me for wanting to build a better world." She steps down from the altar. The priests part before her like water. Drogon lowers his massive head, and she places her hand upon his scales. The connection between them is stronger now, deeper than before. They are bound not just by love, but by death and resurrection. They are two halves of the same impossible existence. "I will return to Westeros," she says quietly, "but not as a savior, not as a liberator. I will return as judgment." The priests exchange glances. This is not what they expected, not what their visions promised. But fire does not ask permission. Fire does not negotiate. Fire consumes. And Daenerys Targaryen has become fire itself. She turns away from them and walks into the ruins of Valyria. Drogon follows. The priests remain behind, uncertain, afraid, but still faithful. They will spread word of her return. They will tell the world that the Dragon Queen lives. Whether the world rejoices or trembles, that remains to be seen. Years pass. While Westeros recovers from war and tries to rebuild under the rule of Bran the Broken and his council of lords and ladies, Daenerys remains in the shadows of Essos. She does not rush. She does not act in haste. Death has taught her patience. She wanders through the free cities, cloaked and anonymous. She walks through Meereen, the city she once ruled, and sees that slavery has returned. The masters rebuilt their power the moment she left. The chains are back. The suffering continues. She visits Astapor, where she once liberated the Unsullied. The city is dead. Nothing remains but ruins and ghosts. The pyramids have collapsed. The streets are empty. The liberation she fought for, meaningless, temporary, a dream that died the moment she turned her back. In Yunkai, she finds former slaves being sold again in secret markets. Children branded with owner marks. Women locked in cages. Men worked to death in mines. Everything she fought for, undone. Everything she sacrificed, wasted. The rage that burns inside her grows colder, more focused, more terrible. She is not angry in the way she was before. She does not scream or weep or rage against the injustice. She simply watches, she learns, she plans, and she gathers followers, not armies, not yet, but individuals, the forgotten, the abandoned, former slaves who remember her name, Dothraki who survived the long night and the burning of King's Landing, Unsullied who deserted after Grey Worm sailed to Nath. Red priests who believe she is the prophesied one. Exiled knights from Westeros who lost everything in the wars. They come to her slowly, drawn by rumors. Whispers of a silver-haired woman who walks through fire and does not burn. Tales of a queen who died and returned. Legends of dragons seen flying over the ruins of Old Valyria. She does not reject them. She does not turn them away. But she makes them understand. This is not about building kingdoms. This is not about breaking wheels or creating a better world. This is about justice, cold, absolute, unforgetting. And in the deepest caverns of Valyria, where the dragon lords once bred their terrible children, Daenerys discovers something impossible. Eggs, dozens of them, hundreds, fossilized, turned to stone over centuries, forgotten beneath the ruins. She places her hands upon them. She speaks to them in High Valyrian, the language of her ancestors. She pours her will into them, her fury, her pain, her refusal to accept defeat. And slowly, impossibly, they begin to warm. Cracks appear in the stone. Light seeps through. The temperature in the cavern rises until the air shimmers. One by one they hatch. Not the massive beasts that Drogon has become. Not yet, but small, vicious, hungry, born from a mother who has tasted death and returned with vengeance in her heart. She names them carefully, each one a memory, each one a promise. Viserion, Rhaegal, born again, Rhaego, the son she lost, Drogo, the husband who was taken from her, Missandei, the friend who was murdered, Jorah, the knight who died protecting her. Each name is a reminder. Each dragon is a weapon. Each heartbeat brings her closer to the moment she will return to Westeros. And when that moment comes, when the time is finally right, Drogon takes to the sky, and he is not alone. A flight of dragons rises from the ruins of Valyria, 7 of them. Their roars echo across the ocean. Their wings blot out the sun. Sailors in the narrow sea look up in horror and disbelief. Ships turn and flee. Coastal towns ring bells of warning. The dragons are returning, and with them, the Dragon Queen. But this time she does not come with promises of liberation. She comes with fire. She comes with judgment. She comes to settle every debt that Westeros owes her. The first city to fall is Volantis. She does not burn it completely. She does not slaughter innocents. But she destroys the slave markets. She executes the triarchs who allowed slavery to flourish. She makes an example that echoes across Essos. The chains are broken, she declares from the steps of the Black Walls, and anyone who forges them again will burn. Then she turns west, toward Westeros, toward the people who betrayed her, toward Jon Snow. Word reaches King's Landing before she does. Riders come from the free cities with impossible news. The Dragon Queen lives. She has returned. She commands a flight of dragons. She is coming. Bran the Broken sits on a throne that is no longer iron but simple wood and stone. He listens to the reports without expression. His advisors panic. Some suggest immediate surrender. Others demand they prepare defenses. Tyrion Lannister, serving as Hand of the King, stands before the council with exhaustion in his eyes. "We killed her," he says quietly. "We drove a knife into her heart, and now she's coming back. What did we think would happen?" In the north, Jon Snow hears the news. He has lived in exile beyond the wall with the free folk for years. He has tried to forget, tried to bury the memory of what he did, tried to convince himself it was necessary, that it was right. But the nightmares never stopped. Every night he sees her face. Every night he feels the dagger in his hand. Every night he hears her final words. And now she is coming, not as a memory, not as a ghost, as fire and vengeance made flesh. The dragons arrive at Dragonstone first. It is fitting. This was her home, the place where she was born during a storm so violent it tore apart the Targaryen fleet. The place where she first set foot in Westeros after years of exile. The castle carved from black volcanic stone, shaped like dragons frozen in eternal flight. She lands in the courtyard where she once stood with her advisors, planning the conquest of the 7 kingdoms, where she received Jon Snow for the first time, where she believed for a brief moment that she had finally found allies. Family, love. The castle is not empty. A small garrison remains, loyal to the crown. They see the dragons descend from the sky, and they know immediately that resistance is futile. Daenerys walks through the halls alone. Drogon and the others circle overhead, their shadows crossing over the island like dark omens. She runs her fingers along the stone walls. She stands in the chamber of the painted table, where the map of Westeros is carved into obsidian. She remembers standing here with Jon, planning the war against the Night King, remembers the way he looked at her, the promises he made. All lies, or perhaps not lies. Perhaps he meant them. Perhaps he truly loved her. But love was not enough to stop him from killing her. Love never is. The garrison commander approaches cautiously. He kneels, his hands tremble. "Your Grace," he says, his voice barely steady, We did not know you lived. We thought, the report said that I was dead," she finishes for him. "I was. But fire cannot die. It only sleeps. She looks at him with those burning eyes, and he cannot meet her gaze. "Send a raven to King's Landing," she commands. "Tell them that Daenerys Stormborn has returned. Tell them I am coming. Tell them to prepare—" "For what, your grace?" he dares to ask. She turns away, looking out at the narrow sea, toward the continent that betrayed her. For judgment, the raven reaches King's Landing within 2 days. The city erupts into chaos. The small folk remember what happened the last time Daenerys Targaryen entered their city. The bells rang in surrender, and she burned them anyway. Tens of thousands died in flames. Children, mothers, old men, burned alive in the streets, while a dragon circled overhead and rained down death. They are terrified. Some flee the city immediately, taking whatever they can carry and heading north or south or anywhere that is not here. Others barricade themselves in their homes, praying to the Seven, to the old gods, to any god that might listen. The nobles are no less frightened. The great houses that supported the overthrow of Daenerys now face the consequences. The lords who called her the Mad Queen, the ladies who whispered that her death was necessary, the knights who stood by while Jon Snow committed regicide, they all know what is coming. Bran the Broken calls an emergency council. The great hall is filled with tension. Tyrion Lannister stands at the center, his face lined with exhaustion and guilt. Sir Brienne of Tarth commands the King's Guard. Sir Davos Seaworth represents the interests of the small folk. Samwell Tarly advises on matters of history and precedent. "She will burn the city," someone says, "just like before. She is vengeance incarnate." "We must surrender," another voice argues. "We cannot fight dragons. We have no defense." "Surrender to what?" Tyrion snaps. "To execution? To revenge?" "She did not return to sit on a throne. She returned to punish us." Bran speaks for the first time, his voice calm and distant as always. "She will not burn King's Landing," he says. Everyone turns to look at him. "How do you know?" Tyrion asks. "Because she already learned that lesson," Bran replies. "Burning the innocent did not bring her peace. It brought her death. She will not make that mistake again." "Then what will she do?" Bran's expression does not change. "She will come for those who betrayed her. She will come for justice, and she will not stop until she has it." A long silence follows. Finally, Tyrion speaks. "Then we give her what she wants. We offer her the guilty. We offer her us." The council erupts in protest. Lords shout over each other. Some demand they fight. Others suggest fleeing. Some even propose assassinating Bran and sending his head to Daenerys as a peace offering. But Tyrion raises his hand for silence. "We helped kill her," he says quietly. "I advised Jon to do it. I told him she was too dangerous to live. I was wrong, or perhaps I was right. But it does not matter now. She is alive. She has returned, and we owe her a debt written in blood." "You would have us walk to our deaths?" Sir Davos asks. "I would have us face what we have done," Tyrion replies, "with whatever dignity we have left." In the north, beyond the wall, Jon Snow receives his own message. It does not come by raven, it comes by fire. He is hunting with Tormund and several free folk when the sky darkens. At first they think it is a storm, but then they see the wings, the massive shape cutting through clouds, Drogon. The dragon lands 100 yards away. Snow and ice vaporize around him from the heat radiating off his scales. He does not attack. He simply watches, waiting, and then she appears. Daenerys walks through the snow as if it does not exist. She wears armor now, black scales and red steel. A crown of dragon bone sits upon her silver hair. She looks like a queen from the age of heroes, like a goddess of war. Jon's companions reach for their weapons, but he stops them with a gesture. He walks forward alone. They stand 10 feet apart, 2 people who once loved each other, 2 people who destroyed each other. "You died," Jon says. His voice is hollow. "I watched you die." "You killed me," she corrects. "Do not pretend it was an accident. Do not pretend you did not choose this." He has no answer. There is no answer that would matter. "I did what I thought was right," he finally says. "You burned King's Landing. You murdered thousands of innocents. You would have burned the entire world if no one stopped you. And you stopped me," she says. "Oh, with a knife in the heart. The same way the Night's Watch stopped you. Tell me, Jon Snow, when they brought you back from the dead, did you come back the same? Did you feel whole? Or did something stay behind in the darkness?" He flinches. She sees it. She knows. "I came back wrong," she continues, "just like you did. Death changes us. It takes something away and gives something else in return. You lost your trust, your certainty, your ability to believe in happy endings, and I lost my mercy." "Why are you here?" he asks. "Are you going to kill me?" She considers this. For a long moment the only sound is the wind howling through the frozen waste and the low rumble of Drogon's breathing. "No," she finally says. "Death would be too kind, too simple. I want you to live, Jon Snow. I want you to live knowing what you did, knowing that you killed the woman you claimed to love, knowing that you chose duty over love, honor over heart, just like every other man in your cursed family." She steps closer, close enough that he can see the fire burning in her eyes, close enough that he can feel the heat radiating from her skin. "I want you to live knowing that I am out there, remaking the world you tried to save, burning away the corruption, tearing down the kingdoms built on lies and betrayal. I want you to hear the stories. I want you to wonder if you made the right choice." She turns to leave, then pauses. "And I want you to know that when I am done, when every traitor has faced justice, when every chain is broken and every throne is ash, I will come back here, and I will ask you one question." "What question?" he whispers. "Was it worth it?" She walks back to Drogon and climbs onto his back. The dragon spreads his wings, and they take flight, disappearing into the grey sky. Jon Snow stands alone in the snow, watching her go. And for the first time since he drove that dagger into her heart, he allows himself to weep. Daenerys does not go to King's Landing immediately. She has learned patience. She has learned strategy. Instead, she begins with the great houses. House Lannister is first, not because Tyrion betrayed her, though he did, not because Cersei tried to have her killed, though she did, but because the Lannisters represent everything she has come to despise. Power without compassion, wealth without responsibility, a legacy built on treachery and murder. Casterly Rock has fallen into decline since the death of Cersei and Jaime. A distant cousin rules now, a minor lord with a famous name and no real power. The gold mines have run dry, the armies have dispersed. The mighty lion is nothing but a toothless cat clinging to past glory. Daenerys arrives with her dragons at dawn. She does not burn the castle. She does not slaughter the inhabitants. She simply makes a declaration. "House Lannister conspired to kill me. House Lannister supported the murder of a queen. House Lannister ends today." The Lord begs. He pleads. He insists he had nothing to do with the war. He was just a child when she died. He is innocent. "There is no such thing as an innocent Lannister," she replies. "Your house dies with you. Your lands will be given to the small folk. Your gold will feed the hungry. Your name will be forgotten." She executes him herself, not with dragonfire, with a sword. Quick, clean, final, and then she moves on. House Stark is more complicated. She loved one of them. She fought beside them against the army of the dead. She lost 2 dragons helping them survive. And they repaid her with betrayal. Sansa Stark rules in Winterfell now, queen in the north, independent from the 6 kingdoms. She hears of Daenerys' return and prepares her defenses. Winterfell has withstood sieges before. It survived the Night King. It will survive a dragon queen. But Daenerys does not come to Winterfell. She sends a message instead, a single sentence written in High Valyrian and delivered by a red priest. "You wanted independence. You have it. But know that I will never forget what your family took from me." Sansa reads the message and understands. This is not mercy. This is a promise. A threat that will hang over the north for as long as Daenerys lives, which, given what she has already survived, might be a very long time indeed. The reckoning comes to King's Landing on a day without clouds. The sky is clear and blue, the kind of perfect day that makes people forget about war and death and dragons. The markets are open, children play in the streets. The city has been rebuilding for years, and the scars of fire are finally starting to fade. Then the bells begin to ring, not in surrender this time, in warning. People look up and see them, 7 dragons, 7 shadows crossing the sun, 7 nightmares made flesh descending upon the city that tried to forget them. Panic spreads like wildfire. People run, they scream. They remember the last time. The bodies in the streets, the smell of burning flesh, the sound of mothers crying for children who had been turned to ash. But the dragons do not attack. They circle. They wait. They land outside the walls, forming a perimeter around the city. Drogon the largest settles upon the hill where the Red Keep once stood, now partially rebuilt into something simpler, less grandiose. And Daenerys walks through the gates alone. She wears no crown. She carries no weapon. She simply walks through the streets of King's Landing as if she owns them, as if she never left. People part before her like a tide. Some kneel, some weep. Some cannot even look at her. They see the woman they called the Mad Queen, the woman who burned their city, the woman who died and somehow returned. She does not speak to them. She does not acknowledge their fear or their reverence. She walks with purpose, her eyes fixed on the distant keep, on the throne room where she was murdered. The King's Guard stands at the entrance. Brienne of Tarth leads them, her hand on her sword. She is terrified, but she does not show it. She has faced death before. She will face it again if she must. Daenerys stops before them. "I am here to see King Brandon Stark," she says calmly. "Will you let me pass, or will you die like so many others who stood in my way?" Brienne hesitates. Every instinct tells her to fight, to protect her king, to do her duty. But she remembers Jaime. She remembers the lessons he taught her about honor and impossible choices. She remembers that sometimes the only way to protect what you love is to know when you cannot win. She steps aside. Daenerys enters the throne room alone. It has been rebuilt since her death. The melted remains of the Iron Throne were removed. In its place sits a simple wooden seat, deliberately humble, deliberately unimpressive. A symbol of a new age, a reminder that kings should serve, not rule. Bran the Broken sits upon it. Tyrion Lannister stands beside him. Ser Davos is there. Samwell Tarly. The few advisors who remained loyal to the crown. They all watch as Daenerys approaches. She stops at the center of the room. The same place where she died. The same stones that were stained with her blood. "Your Grace," Tyrion says, his voice heavy with old guilt, "you have returned." "I have," she replies. "Did you think I would stay dead? Did you think fire could be extinguished so easily? We hoped," Tyrion trails off. There is no good way to finish that sentence. "You hoped I would stay buried," Daenerys finishes for him. "You hoped the world would forget, that history would remember me as the Mad Queen and nothing more, that your betrayal would be justified by time and necessity." "It was not betrayal," Tyrion says, but his voice lacks conviction. It was murder," she interrupts. "Premeditated, calculated. You advised Jon Snow to kill me. You told him I was too dangerous to live. You sentenced me to death and had someone else carry out the execution. Do not pretend it was anything else." Tyrion has no answer. He looks old suddenly, tired beyond measure. Bran speaks for the first time, his voice as emotionless as ever. "You have come for revenge," he states. "You have come to punish those who wronged you." "I have come for justice," Daenerys corrects. "There is a difference." "Is there?" Bran asks. "Justice and revenge look very similar when you are the one dispensing them." She considers this. For a moment something flickers across her face. Doubt, perhaps, or memory. the ghost of the woman she used to be, the one who believed in mercy and second chances. But then the fire returns to her eyes. "I spent years trying to build a better world," she says. "I freed slaves, I broke chains, I fed the hungry, I protected the weak, and what did it earn me? Betrayal, murder, a knife in the heart from the man I loved." "You burned King's Landing," Sir Davos interjects. "You slaughtered thousands of innocents who had surrendered. You became the very thing you claimed to fight against." "I made a mistake," Daenerys admits, and the room goes silent. No one expected that. "I let my rage control me. I let my pain turn me into a monster. I became what my father was, and I have thought about that every day since I returned." She steps closer to the throne. "But my mistake does not erase yours. My crimes do not justify what you did to me, and I will not let you hide behind my failures to escape judgment for your own." "What do you want?" Bran asks simply. Daenerys looks at each of them in turn. Tyrion, who advised her execution. Davos, who stood by and allowed it. Sam, who helped convince Jon that she was too dangerous. Bran, who knew everything that would happen and did nothing to stop it. "I want you to face what you have done," she says. "I want you to stand before the people of Westeros and admit that you murdered a queen. I want you to confess that you chose political convenience over justice, that you killed me not because I was evil, but because I was difficult to control." "And then," Tyrion asks, "after we confess, what happens then?" "Then I will decide if you deserve mercy," Daenerys replies, "the same way you decided I did not." The trial takes place in the ruins of the great sept of Baelor. It is fitting. This is where her story in King's Landing truly began, where she first saw the city she would one day conquer, where Cersei Lannister murdered hundreds with wildfire, where the wheel of power turned and crushed the innocent beneath it. Thousands gather to witness, small folk and nobles alike, people who lost loved ones in the burning of King's Landing, people who remember Daenerys as a liberator, people who called her the breaker of chains, people who called her the Mad Queen. Tyrion Lannister stands before them all. He confesses everything, the planning, the manipulation, the advice he gave to Jon Snow, the choice to end Daenerys' life rather than risk what she might become. He does not beg. He does not make excuses. He simply tells the truth. When he finishes, Daenerys addresses the crowd. "Tyrion Lannister conspired to murder a queen," she declares. "The punishment for regicide is death, but I am not my father. I'm not the Mad King who burned men alive for imagined slights. I'm not even the woman I was when I died." She turns to Tyrion. "You will not die today, Tyrion Lannister. Instead, you will live. You will live with what you have done. You will spend the rest of your days serving the people you claimed to protect. You will rebuild what was destroyed. You will feed the hungry. You will care for the orphans created by war. And you will never hold power again. You will be remembered not as a hand of the king, but as the man who betrayed the woman who trusted him." Tyrion nods slowly. It is, in many ways, a harsher sentence than death. Bran the Broken is next. He stands before the crowd, supported by attendants. He shows no emotion, no fear, no regret. "You knew," Daenerys says to him. "You saw everything that would happen. You watched me burn King's Landing in your visions. You watched Jon Snow kill me, and you did nothing to stop it." "I did what was necessary," Bran replies. "I saw 1,000 possible futures. In most of them, far worse things happened. The world needed you to die so that something new could be born." "And what was born?" Daenerys demands. "Another kingdom, another wheel. You sit on a throne and call yourself a king and claim it is different, but it is the same game with new players." "Perhaps," Bran admits, "but it is not for me to decide anymore." Daenerys looks at him for a long time. She sees the boy he was, the child who fell from a tower, the young man who became something more and less than human, the king who never wanted to be king. "You will not be king anymore," she finally says. "Westeros does not need another Brandon Stark on a throne. It needs to learn to rule itself. The 6 kingdoms end today. Each region will govern itself. Each people will choose their own path. No more Iron Throne, no more Game of Thrones, no more wheels." She turns to the crowd. "I did not return to conquer," she tells them. "I returned to ensure that what happened to me never happens to anyone else. That no one is murdered for wanting to change the world. That no one is betrayed by those they trust. That power is never again concentrated in the hands of the few." "What will you do now?" someone shouts from the crowd. Daenerys looks up at the sky, where her dragons circle overhead. "I will leave," she says. "I will return to Essos. I will continue the work I started. I will break every chain. I will burn every slave market. I will tear down every dynasty built on suffering. And if Westeros falls back into tyranny, if kings and queens rise again to oppress the weak, I will return. And next time, I will not be so merciful." She walks through the crowd. People reach out to touch her, some with reverence, some with fear, some with hope. She does not stop until she reaches the edge of the city where Drogon waits. But there is one more person she must see. Jon Snow arrives from the north 3 days later. He comes alone, without guards or companions. He finds her waiting on the cliffs overlooking Blackwater Bay, the same place where they once stood together and watched the dragons fly. They do not speak at first. They simply stand in silence, 2 people who destroyed each other in the name of love and duty. Finally, Jon breaks the silence. "You spared them," he says. "Tyrion, Bran, the others. You could have burned them all. Why did you not?" "Because I remembered something," Daenerys replies. "Something I forgot before I died. Mercy is not weakness, justice is not the same as revenge, and breaking the wheel means more than just killing those who sit on thrones." "And me?" Jon asks. "What about me?" She turns to look at him, really look at him. She sees the man she loved, the man she trusted, the man who killed her, and she sees someone just as broken as she is. "You did what you thought was right," she says quietly. "You believed I had become a monster. Perhaps you were correct. Perhaps in that moment I had. But you took something from me that can never be returned. You took my future, my hope, my belief that love could save us." "I am sorry," Jon whispers. "I have been sorry every day since." "I know," she replies. "I can see it in your eyes. The guilt, the doubt, the question that haunts you. Did I make the right choice? Was there another way?" She steps closer to him. "I will give you an answer, Jon Snow. No, there was no other way. Not for you. You are Ned Stark's son, even if not by blood. You will always choose honor over love, duty over happiness. You will always be the man who does the hard thing, the terrible thing, because you believe it must be done, and you will always suffer for it." She places her hand on his cheek. For a moment, it is almost gentle, almost loving. Then she pulls away. "I forgive you," she says, "not because you deserve it, but because I will not let hatred poison the rest of my existence. I died once already. I will not die again slowly, consumed by the need for revenge." Tears stream down Jon's face. "I loved you," he says. "I still love you." "I know," she replies, "but love is not enough. It never was." She walks to the edge of the cliff where Drogon waits. She climbs onto his back and looks down at Jon Snow one last time. "Go back to the north, Jon Snow. Live your life. Find whatever peace you can. But remember this, every chain that breaks, every slave that goes free, every tyrant that falls, I will think of you, and I will wonder if you still believe you made the right choice." Drogon spreads his wings. The other dragons join him, rising from the rocks and ruins where they waited, and together they fly east, toward the rising sun, toward Essos, toward a world that still needs saving. Jon Snow stands on the cliff and watches them disappear into the horizon. He stands there long after they are gone, long after the sun sets and the stars emerge, and he realizes he will never know if he was right. He will spend the rest of his life wondering, and perhaps that is the cruelest punishment of all. Years pass, decades, the world changes. In Westeros, the kingdoms govern themselves. Some thrive, some struggle, but there is no king or queen to rule them all. The wheel is broken, not because Daenerys destroyed it, but because she gave people the choice to step away from it. In Essos, the legend grows, the dragon queen who died and returned, the breaker of chains, who will not stop until every chain is broken. The woman who burned cities and spared enemies, the savior and the destroyer, impossible to categorize, impossible to forget. She is seen in Meereen, freeing slaves once more, in Yunkai, burning the markets to ash, in Volantis, executing the Triarchs, in Karth, demanding tribute for the poor. Some call her a goddess, some call her a demon, some call her the hope of the oppressed, some call her the terror of the powerful. But everyone agrees on one thing: fire cannot die. It only sleeps. And when it wakes, the world will burn. And somewhere in the ruins of Old Valyria, in the place where dragons were born and empires fell, Daenerys Targaryen sits upon a throne of black stone. She is older now, her silver hair touched with strands of grey, her face lined with experience and wisdom earned through death and resurrection, but her eyes still burn. And 7 dragons sleep at her feet, waiting for the day they will be needed again, because fire never dies. It waits, it remembers. And when the time comes, it returns. The myth is reborn, the legend lives on. The wheel may be broken, but the Dragon Queen endures. And the world will never forget the price of betrayal. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. See you on next video.